It's 6:02. Guess I will call to order the monthly meeting of the Ways and Means Committee. We will begin with a roll call, please. Here. There was an agenda posted on board docs. I have it in front of me. Have you had any chance to review? Any changes to be made? That will stand as approved. We don't have any announcements, appointments, proclamations, or recognitions. Are there any members of the citizenry that would care to make a comment at this time? Seeing none, we'll move right along. Certainly, should a citizen walk in, I would probably entertain a motion to allow them to speak if they wanted to at the end. Item number 5, report of committee chairs and aldermen. I am first. I do not have a report. Mr. Alderman Lay, he's not here. Alderwoman O'Neill.
Your microphone.
Sure, if you could just have your mic on. We're happy to entertain all of the
I have
questions.
no report, but I will have questions later in the agenda.
Okay, Alderwoman Tice, any reports?
No report.
Okay, we'll move along to item 6 on the agenda, the city administrator report.
She is not here. She's at a conference. Lisa, as I told you, Korkemeyer had a family emergency, so we sent her home. And Karen Shaw does not have a report for you for the city
In their place.
administrator.
Okay. Very
So,
good.
no
We'll-
report.
We will move right along then. We have item number 7, department reports, finance department. Karen,
That
you
is
have
me.
That is you.
And it's through March 31st, 2019. As we were discussing earlier, one of the main things to look at when you're looking at these is, for example, on page 1, they have page numbers now. Total revenue general fund, if you look at that 64%, it's not highlighted, so that's a good thing. You can get in the weeds at each one of these line items, but they are going to be different. At this point in the year, they're not as critical because this money comes in at different times of the year. For example, the very first one, ad valorem taxes, says we still need to collect 100% of it. Well, we don't get it till the end of the year, so it won't change till later on in the year. But overall, general revenues are on target in that we should be at 75% or below of uncollected revenues, and we're at 64%. If you flip over to,
And Karen, just to stop you for, Andy, I see you've arrived. For those who are just joining us on this wonderful committee, would it be helpful to kind of give a global or, broad stroke analysis as to how to read through these reports, just to kind of understand what we're looking at? Or if like me, you understood it perfectly on the first time when I first joined the committee, we could go right along. But I wanted to make sure that we at least,
and
addressed
I
any-
can do that, certainly.
Is
if
that,
it's that what
would
you
that
want.
be helpful? Okay,
Okay.
yeah, so why don't,
So the very first column is the year-to-date that we collected in revenue or we spent through March 31st of last year. The second column that you can compare it to is what we've collected or spent through March 31st, 2019. So you can compare month to month and year-to-date. The third column is just what we collected or spent for just the month of March of the year we're in. The next column is our budget. The next column is what we have remaining in the budget. So if it's pretty simple, is that you just take the budget and you subtract that second column, and that's what we have remaining to collect. And then the percentage out there is just the percentage of that budget remaining. And obviously, we're in the third month of the year, so we need to be right around 75% or below of what we still need to collect. And as I pointed out with the ad valorem, it's at 100%, but I know we're not going to get that till the end of the year. That's why it's at 100%. I will point out another big one on this particular page, and one other thing that I will tell you too, over on the very far left column, those numbers, those 4 digits, if it starts with the 4 on any of these pages, it's a revenue. If it starts with the 6, it's an expenditure. So on the line item 4100, occupational licenses, that's one of our big revenues, so we budget $1.5 million, a little over $1.5 million. And the code says that that's what the businesses have to pay. It's due by February 15th. It's based on gross revenue or square footage, depending on the kind of business. And then there are some exempt businesses, attorneys, et cetera. That particular number, we went to MyGov this year, completely computerized. We weren't computerized as that much last year or the previous years. It was very much a manual process. When we went to the computerized process in January, when I say that, I mean that the business owners very much had responsibility of quite a bit of information that they had to put in to the system because we simply didn't have it on another system to roll over. So as you might imagine, a smaller maybe mom pop or a business, they maybe not even use computers. They may just use a cash register and ding, they don't use a digital computer or anything. And some of them struggled. So I have a part-time person who I think it was like 130 accounts. And he made lots of phone calls and actually walked some people through helping them. We also had a laptop set up in planning, because planning and development took this over. It used to be in finance. And those people would walk them through it. So I said all that to say we moved the date out to March 15th because they just were having a lot of trouble. So where it looks like we're really low there, it picked up in April because we pretty much have there's just a few, and some of those that didn't renew, we think it's because they're not in Brentwood anymore. It's another phone call or an email that we'll have to send them.
Madam Chairman, if I may.
Sure.
Thank you. Karen, I haven't heard from a business in my ward. They have called, or at least have claimed to call, multiple times asking for help to do what you're talking about. Nobody has reached back to them, and they're frustrated, so they reached out to me. They don't know how to use your system or the MyGov. And your person, I'll get them a name and a number so that the two can talk.
Now, he's here 3 days a week, but I was going to tell you if you gave him my number or even I'll say Lisa's. Lisa may be in and out, but particularly mine, we will get back with them because my person actually has walked many people through it and helped them get through it. Because that was one of my concerns because we did this at another place where I came from, a very small village with their income taxes, and that was what the problem was. Not everybody knows how to use a computer or wants to use a computer.
I'll get with you at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
But at any rate, I brought that up to tell you about that particular item. And so if you flip over to, say, page 2, which starts the expenditures for general fund, that first one is general administration, which is finance.
Just as far as the revenues go, like
Right.
you're comfortable with where we are
Yes,
for revenues
and that's
on that page.
what I pointed out as far as you look at the total line at the bottom, 64%. Now, if that said 99%, I would be really concerned. We are not getting any revenue, and so how could we possibly be paying the bills we have? But it's not. It's on target. One other thing I will point out, if you look in that column that's got the little bit of peach in it, the percentage column, there's 2 numbers that are negative.
Yep.
One of them is the Intercity Joint Services. That is our SRO officer. When we approved this budget last year, we did not have a signed agreement with the schools yet. We pretty much knew we were going to, but I can't put that in the budget legally if the board has not approved that. So that got approved, we started collecting money. So we're gonna have to do a budget amendment at the end of the year to show a reflection that we're gonna get more in than $1,600, which is what we budgeted, which is just the school crossing guards. The other one is the insurance and other settlements. We budgeted 11,000, but we also got a check this year. Well, we got more than one, but one big check for one of the wrecked cars from last year. It just got settled. And we got the check in 2019, and we could not book it to 18. So that's what put that one over. That's why it's negative. We are way over what we thought we were going to collect in revenue. Some people think that looks bad. That's really a good thing. We got more than we thought we were going to get. But again, we're probably going to have to, well, we will have to do a budget amendment.
Okay, great.
So on page 2 starts the general fund expenditures. Admin includes finance, community relations, municipal operating, and then like BOLA and Shelley, and then salary. You see one little orange one there, printing. That just could be these books, whatever. But if we're already at, what did we spend? $1,333, and we haven't done the CAFR yet, we're probably going to go over, which will be a budget amendment, which I know in admin, because that's my department, we would find it in savings. We would not say, oh, our whole entire budget went over, we need to take it out of fund balance. No, we will find it in savings in some other area. But
Can I ask, is that possibly because of all the centennial things that are being printed?
Centennial thing, possibly, because, no, that's not, that doesn't.
Is this a separate line item?
Janet's salary comes out of here, but community relations is where all of that comes out of.
Okay.
And then maybe some in yours, right, Eric? A little bit of yours, some goes out of your budget too, for Centennial.
Thank you.
Yes. So, but the key to look at, particularly this early in the year, is that we're at 82%. So we are above the 75%, so we're doing good. And that goes for all the departments. You will notice that almost all of them, the employee benefit line looks like it's over. That's another fluctuation where we probably paid, let's say April's loggers retirement in March. So maybe 2 got paid in March, and that just is reflected here. If you look at page 3, I see election expense. Well, there you go. The election already happened. I don't think we're going to have any more, so that's probably not going to change. What else does that mean? It means that there's $7,700 of quote savings in the legislative department in case you guys give yourself a big raise or something.
Not likely.
I'm sorry, didn't we try to vote to
Wig
increase
has anything to do with it,
salaries?
But again, 82% community services, which is Centennial, Brentwood Days, what was another one? Night Out, National Night Out. That's
yep.
all in this, the newsletter. That all comes out of this budget here, and it's at 91%. But again, when the Brentwood Days rolls around, you're going to see that go down. For the rest of them, they're all. If you go to page 4 and look at the total line of each of them, it's 78%, 81, 80. Everybody's within their budget. And then to really show a reflection of that on grand total, if you flip over to page 9, about halfway down under planning and development, there's our fund balance at January 1st, 5.2. That simply means the next line that we took in $2 million more in revenue than we spent, but don't get excited because all that's that occupational licenses, business licenses, and we won't get any more the rest of the year. So that's a number that'll fluctuate, which puts us at 7.3 million. There's going to be months where we don't collect as much in revenue as we spend. We have the fixed expenses of salaries and that, so that number could be a negative, and it will bring it back down a little bit. But we budget balance, so at the end of the year, we do not dip into fund balance. Hopefully, we put a little bit into fund balance. The next, on page 9, starts capital improvements. Again, that revenue is at 73%. And
Mayor,
yeah.
Chairman, under the grants,
Yes.
4205, we budgeted nothing, but I do believe we have 2 or 3 grants that we've put out for a request. So we don't budget in anticipation, we wait till the grant's awarded?
It depends, yes, and it depends on what kind of grant. For example, the Rosalie is a grant, 4029.
Yep.
Rose Avenue. Is that Rose Avenue or Rosalie?
Rosalie,
That's what I thought. But at any rate, that's the same street that we did an STP on, which is a surface transportation something,
improvement.
right, grant, and we would get 80% back. That's what that revenue's for. Well, we haven't even started work on that, but we budgeted. But we didn't budget any of that until Dan got the notice back saying we'd have been approved for the grant. So, yes. And again, if we get a grant in the middle of the year, we would show it in here, and it's gonna reflect in numbers, looking askew, and we would do budget amendments at the year. That would be our notice, put us on notice that we need to do a budget amendment. And then capital, again, it jumps around, and one thing I will point out that, let's see, 17, we started collecting in November of 17, the Prop P, the public safety, the county tax. It's been named all three of those. And last year, because it was so quickly and sudden, and we did not know how much we were gonna get, when it came to budget time, we just it got put in generally. A bulk of it in 18 was spent on, or going to be spent on the $200,000 worth of streetlights we were gonna put in. So this year, I attempted to break it out between police and fire, between contractual services for computer things that would go through Larry, IT, and then capital items. And in addition to those items, it was agreed that the two positions that went into the police department last year for the commander, major, and the senior law enforcement was going to be from Prop P money. So that portion of it would stay in the general fund to fund the police department's salary and benefits. The rest of it shows as a transfer coming out of the general fund into capital to pay for those things we've designated as Prop P. And those things, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but you and Chief Speece and Larry got together about different computer items and that's how they made it. They were originally in their budget. They got moved over to the capital as Prop P. Yes. The next is stormwater parks improvement. And if you go, which is page 11, you look and it's at 70%. One of the other things I just want to say here is you see some peach in there, which is supposed to flag you. I will say, and Eric's here, Eric's very good about keeping up with his revenues in his department. And those revenues go up and down, or go way up in the summer, certain ones, and other ones in the winter go up. So those, I see that we're good. That's all I look at. The fact that there's peach ones in there, I know Eric knows. You could probably ask him and he would know exactly what's going on with them. Only when, again, I see that we're at 99% we haven't collected, then I'm gonna be calling Eric and asking him what's going on there. And then on the next page are the next two pages are his expenditures. And again, if you look at his expenditures on the end of them, on page 13, he's at 84%. And if, real quickly to show you, page 13, look at his fund balance, how it's the negative, that they took in less in revenue than they spent. Keep in mind with Eric, he's also got Brentwood bound in his fund. So that, he doesn't really control that. That's controlled by the COP money, and then that line item is not his to control, which is 6482. That's not his line item. The money that gets charged to that is the COP that you guys approve through warrantless, and I do a journal entry. So the rest of it, he's an eagle eye on it. So, but at any rate, it's still at 84%, so that's good. And then, we can just skip the sewer because we all know what that's about. So we'll be expecting a $90,000 loan because we can't give it money according to our city attorney. So a loan again to keep it solvent or in the red,
Madam
black.
Chairman, if I may,
Yes, ultimately.
on the sewer, under the state statute, the money that we are transferring into it has to come back to the general fund with a reasonable interest. Are we budgeting the reasonable interest at this point?
I think we discussed this at a previous Ways and Means, and that is something we're going to look at in the next budget, this up and coming budget.
20's
And
budget.
come up with what is reasonable and how we're going to do it. Because the fact of the matter is, you would have to put a budget line item to show, and to show a payment back into it, which meant it could not be spent to fix sewer laterals. And right now, we don't have that in there, but we would have to budget something in there for the payments going back. You see that 90,000, and then there was 95,000 that you guys approved for 18. There were other years before I got here that money went, that
went
is
in the
owed.
red.
Yes.
Yes.
That is owed to the general fund. It's not just $185,000.
Karen, is it your responsibility then to kind of give us, this is the gross borrow? Depending
Yes.
on what the board determines
Yes.
is a reasonable interest, this is the gross debt, and now we're going to be told,
Right.
figure out a way to pay them back.
Right, and that's what we discussed at previous Ways and Means about discussing it at the budget time this coming year and putting it in the sewer budget. And that, it's gonna have to be reasonable because we can't, if we're moving $90,000 in, we can't say we're gonna pay $50,000 back. What's the point? But we gotta come up with something reasonable. So, we just haven't got there yet. So with that, any questions, I would be happy
Madam
to
Chairman,
answer.
I have 5 or 6 things that I picked out that, if we can go back to page 4,
Okay,
it's 6215, which is equipment maintenance, equipment repairs. Our constituents in Ward 4 are very unhappy with the trash trucks being out of commission so often. And I know Dan's not here, but Madam Chairman, can we put this on the agenda for next month? Because apparently, the newest truck was from 2016. It's breaking down a lot. We're talking, what, $200,000 or more to replace the truck? So he's looking at outsourcing as compared to keeping on doing it ourselves. So could we ask him for next month to give us a presentation on where that stands?
on outsourcing sanitation, trash pickup?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So just to make sure I understand, and that's fine, do you want to hear about the, like a cost-benefit analysis?
Yes,
of
do
the
we need to phase
trash
out doing it
trucks?
ourselves and outsource it?
I will
Because-
say, just to kind of ease you, at least temporarily, I just saw a bill to be paid for nearly $15,000 to put an engine in one of those trucks. And Dan, being the good steward of the money, the quote was a little less than 13 grand. And he got the dealership to honor that, even though I saw the bill, it's close to 15,000. So one of the trucks just got a new engine put in it, so that's good. But that doesn't mean, like you said, as I have told Sonny, that some of this stuff is getting older, and we either are gonna have to replace it or start budgeting more money for repairs.
Well, and the fact, when it's out of repair,
Right,
what
what do
they're
we do?
doing is coming on and throwing the recycling in the trash. And when people see that, they just go up in smoke.
Mm-hmm.
So we really do need to have the equipment ready to separate the two, as long as we're still doing the recycling. So if he can do that. Sure. Okay, then page 11, and this is one of Eric's, so maybe he could help. It's 4342 about dog parks. It's a quick question. Down there.
I'm sorry, which, 42, 42, got it.
4342. And I'm wondering,
Eric, you got it?
it's Eric, are the revenues from the dog parks equal to the expense at this point? Will they ever be equal? How does that work?
Currently, right now, we're actually making money on the dog.
Good.
Now, we had the capital expenditures
Yeah.
still, getting all those expenditures together. So we will be getting that together, and once we do that, we'll be taking that to Public Works to show what the cost of that was and all that. But right now, we actually have very minimal cost for the dog parks, right, currently. But yeah, right now, we're running in the black.
Excellent.
Can I follow up with a question on that?
Excuse me.
Where are we, according to these numbers, are you at only a 50% sale of memberships, or have we?
Right now, we're
sealed
about,
up?
right now, about 200 members. We said we'd expand to 400. Now, we haven't done, we just opened up that second dog park, and we didn't do a big push until we wanted to make sure everything was kind of open. So we're going to be making a little bit larger push. Clayton's making a larger push. So we have capacity for more members, definitely. But we are still, like I said, we're still running in the black.
Is, how many members came over from Clayton? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. It is,
Ballpark.
I can't answer that. Ballpark, it's probably, I think about 85 to 100.
Oh, okay. Not a huge amount.
Could I ask, since I'm new, is that going to be the permanent Clayton Dog Park, or are they going to go back where they were?
No, we
once
have,
that-
yeah,
the
we have an
sewer
agreement
constru-
for 2 years, 3 years, with a caveat that if we need to end it earlier due to a Brentwood bound, we will be able to.
Yes, and I want to come back to something, but then on page 13, and this is Eric too, 6427 is the senior programs, which is 0. The senior programs in this last catalog are less than a page. They used to be a page and a half, so we're offering less with Richmond Heights doing the work, and with, are we still paying 50% of Kate's salary, even though she's not producing what we had hoped she would do?
The reason that it's less this program is because it's just a smaller brochure. It's only a 3-month brochure. We're still doing as many programs per month as we were in the past. So we're still doing our 2 trips per month. We're still doing the lunch per month. We're still doing the casino trip. We're still doing, well, we added the painting with Bob Ross, which hopefully will take off. So we're still doing everything per month as we were doing. It's just that it's a shorter brochure time frame. What we're not doing is we're not doing the speaker series with Oasis. Oasis did not see a benefit.
Ever?
What's that?
Did we ever do anything with Oasis?
Yeah, there's been the speaker series with Oasis the past 2 brochures. They just unfortunately did not see a benefit. They didn't have enough people coming to it. So we're trying to revamp that a little bit with Kate and see what we can do with that. But everything else is still the same type of programs, amount of programs.
There are a number of seniors who have said since Tammy left, the variety of programs and the quality is not the same. So maybe it's time to do a brainstorming, invite some others in and get some ideas and sort of reinvigorate that.
And when we talked about it in that one, if you remember that one sort of brainstorm we had, the difficulty was whether if we do the type of program we used to do with Tammy was the cost factor. People didn't want to pay the amount of money we were paying when we did Tammy's programming because we did more during those trips. They wanted a little bit better price point. And if we went with the Richmond Heights price point, it's what we decided to do. That meant scaling back what those trips were a little bit.
Wow.
So it's kind of a give and take, unfortunately.
I'm not sure money's the issue. I think people are generally unhappy, so that's something. And so 6310 goes along with that, the recreational services co-op, is that the cooperative agreement with Maplewood? And
Yeah.
so we're paying $95,000?
Yeah, that's the two amounts is the usage of the Richmond Heights, and then also that's where the salary for the senior programming comes in. It's those 2 line items.
So is that going to go up or down with the heights being changed and a lot of the people going to use the Y instead?
That is a conversation, Teresa and I are currently having. So that is up for debate right now.
Okay, and the last one is a question for Karen. It's 4950, back on page 11, it's the last one. What's intergovernmental?
That's, That is Eric too. I think that's your playground. Intergovernmental, 164,000. That's your grant, right?
Yeah, that's grants.
So because that's coming from another government,
So so it's a grant line, and it's called intergovernmental because it comes from it's coming from another government agency. So that's a state grant.
Oh, okay, that was easy. Thank you. That's it, Madam Chairman, thank you.
Karen and I already talked, but thank you.
I think that was a very informative financial report. Thank you. So we'll move on to the next line item, which is item number 8, the consent agenda. Has everyone had an opportunity? I'm assuming they have to review the minutes. I think Alderwoman O'Neill and I are the only two that were
I was going to say,
at that meeting.
Fine.
So,
with the chair's permission, I will abstain from voting because I wasn't at the meeting.
I read
Nor
them
was
through.
I.
and I think that leaves
read
us
them
with
through and there were no
not a
red
majority.
flags,
So what do we do in that situation?
I think they just vote.
Yes.
The two of you.
We'll employ the doctrine of necessity and have take a vote on
I move we approve the minutes.
or approve the consent agenda.
Oh, okay.
And is
Yeah.
that something I can do by acclamation for a consent agenda? I
think so, yes.
And we will approve that by acclamation.
Okay.
Moving on, we don't have any line items on old business. Item number 10A, which is the healthcare premium increase.
I'm assuming my mic is on. Yes, I've got two different things to talk about. The first would be the health insurance increase. We are seeing a 2% across-the-board increase. This was more or less expected, typically speaking, within SLATE, which is the St. Louis Area Insurance Trust that we get our health coverage from. You typically see a 0%, 2%, or a 4% increase. 0% is very rare. There's usually only one or two of the members that have a 0%, and we are not fortunate enough to be that organization. However, we did see the 2%. Again, still under what the national expectations are, somewhere in the ballpark about 6%. What this means to the city is across the board, we will see somewhere in the ballpark of about a $26,000, $25,000 net increase to the premiums. The board in the past has elected to pass along the 2% to the employees that pay the portion of the premium. The way that the city currently operates is that the city pays the premium for the employee-only portion. If the employee adds any spouse, dependent, children, what have you, they pay 50% of the additional premium to add those. So that's where the 2% would come in. The numbers that are listed down below indicate the current premiums. As an example, for employee only, it's currently at $522.65. That's a monthly premium. Employee plus spouse is $1,190.90. Employee plus children is $998.06, and employee plus family is $1,519. As you can
Jason,
see,
if I may.
yes,
You said per month?
per month, yes, sir.
Wow. Educate me.
Well, try going out in the public and finding it cheaper.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just,
Most people don't realize that this is the cost of healthcare.
Care.
It is unfortunately a very, very expensive proposition. One of the things that I do in my HR role when I sit down with a new employee is I educate them on that so that they realize that this is in essence a portion of their compensation. It's a portion that they don't necessarily see, and for many of the younger employees don't really value quite as much, but for folks that are middle to later in life, they definitely understand the value in this. So yes, it is definitely an expensive proposition.
And just real quick, could you tell them what you plan to do this year at the end of the year, close to the end of the year?
Sure, yeah. One of the things that I would like to do at the end of the year, depending on how things go with our move in the building and whatnot, is I will put together an overall benefits summary sheet for our employees that not only shows what their annual compensation is, but then it also shows the employees what they receive in terms of benefits. Because again, I think that is some degree of an eye-opener. for folks. I mean, again, just a single individual receiving $522 a month, that's, right at $6,000. For an employee making $50,000 a year, they may not necessarily see that, but that is an additional portion of their compensation. You factor in the additional benefits they receive of dental, vision, life, short, long-term disability, pension. That really equates to probably an additional $12,000 to $13,000. So their total compensation package for that $50,000 employee is probably closer to about $76,000 to $78,000, depending on where they fall within the benefits package. And I think that's a good thing for the employees to see.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, and Madam Chairman, I would certainly encourage, even if you are busy with the move, I would certainly encourage that to be done because the percentage over, when I've had that done at a previous employer, and actually it sort of does it, so it has your base salary and the other stuff, and then really big, like this is your total compensation. So you're like, whoa, I only thought I made this, and it is an eye-opening thing, and I think it makes people feel better about what they do, and the amazing benefits that the city pays 100% of healthcare.
Well,
is,
and again, one of the things
unusual.
that I do when an employee starts is I sit down with them and we've got a deduction spreadsheet that they sign off on, and they realize it's on there what the cost is for the employee portion, and they sign off that they don't pay for that. So again, they do see that on the front end, but that again has a tendency to get lost in the multitude of papers they sign that first day. So to see that in totality for the year, I think would definitely be a positive thing for the employees.
Jason, I think where it impacted me was when we were considering hiring new people, and we looked at the salary range and then said, oh, but by the time we add in all the benefits, that's not that. It's up there. It's a consideration in adding somebody.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Well, and you've got other factors beyond that too. If they're uniformed employees, there are items associated like that. With the fire department, they have specific uniform items, turnout gear, things like that. There are all sorts of additional expenses associated with hiring an employee. So. But moving back on, so the intent would be to pass along that 2% to the employees when the rate increase goes into effect, which would be July 1st. Again, for the fact that the employees do not pay any for the single portion, those employees would obviously not see that increase. But for the additional employees that have the spousal, children, or family coverage, there would be a slight increase to them of that 2%. I don't need to read all the numbers. You've got them in front of you. My intent for bringing it to this panel here would be for you to make the determination whether or not you wish to pass that forward to the employees or keep it as it is. My recommendation would be to pass it forward as we've done that in the past. One thing I do want to point out, and Karen had alluded to it briefly as well, periodically we do receive disbursements from Slate for past years since it is a trust. If they are closed out with a given year and they have leftover premiums, then they disperse those leftover premiums proportionately to the cities that participated in the program at that time. Last year, as an example, the city received approximately $65,000 this year. It's not quite that high, but again, we will receive approximately $22,000, and that typically hits after the premium or after the plan year, which begins July 1st. So we should see that probably late August or so.
Madam Chairman, would you like a motion?
Do you need a motion from us?
Yes, ma'am, I would.
So the chair would entertain a motion to approve the proposed rate increase to pass along to the employees as indicated on this memo, and the effective date of the increase would be 7/1/2019.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, seeing no questions, well, I guess that's a roll call vote.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill,
Yes.
Chairwoman Sims,
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice.
Yes.
Jason, do you want to take item B too?
Yes, ma'am. The next thing is more or less just informational. I wanted to inform the members that we will not be seeing a rate increase for our dental coverage, for our vision coverage, or for the life, AD&D, short-term and long-term disability. The dental is a one-year premium increase free. Dental, or excuse me, vision is 2 years, and we are in the second year of a 2-year net zero increase for the life, AD&D, and short and long-term disability. Again, nothing required on the board at this point for that, just informational to let you know. Because we did not see a rate increase in some of these this year, I would anticipate that we will next year. What that will be, I don't know. I will continue to be diligent, and if the need arises, if we expect that it would go higher than what would be acceptable, then I will instruct our broker to attempt to go out to bid, which they typically do anyway, just to shop the business to see if there are competing organizations that may be interested in providing that service to us, hopefully at a reduced rate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
From
Item 10C, Eric, I think that's you, implications to meeting room rental revenue due to the City Hall Customer Service Improvement Project.
Yes, I was just asked to put this, excuse me, I was just asked to put this memo together for informational purposes only. As staff has been discussing the City Hall Customer Service Improvement Project, one of the things that was discussed is obviously as we need to shut down this building for renovations, what are we going to do for all of our board meetings, committee meetings, things like that. And obviously the easiest course of action is move that over to the Parks and Rec Department and over to the Recreation Complex. Obviously, that will have some sort of revenue implications to the department. As you see, Board of Aldermen, Public Safety, Public Works, Ways and Means, Planning and Zoning, Architectural Review Board, Board of Adjustments, Municipal Court, all need to come over to the rec center. That's 10 room reservations per month. We average 3 hours for each reservation. Some of that's high, some of that's low. Court is actually 4 hours, 5 hours, depending on some nights, because they want to get there at 4:30. The Board of Aldermen meeting can hopefully usually not that long. Some meetings such as this usually are only about an hour, but typically after that, by the time it's 7 o'clock, we can't get a reservation after that. So it's about $1,200 a month of lost room rental revenue. That is, what is about 12% of what we're trying to earn in rental revenue a month to make our budget. So again, that is not, that's just informational. I was just asked to put that together for you guys and to, as we're putting everything together. So that's all it is. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions?
If a meeting were to be canceled, it still wouldn't help you because it wouldn't be canceled in time for you to use the room.
Depends on how early, right? I mean, if we know that we're going to cancel the November meeting because of something now, then maybe, yeah. But if we cancel a week out, it's probably going to be too late, yeah.
My general thoughts were to just monitor it, stick a pin in it, and if you find that it's really creating a burden for you, we can come back and talk about it again.
Now, again, it's not a big deal. I mean, we're happy to do it. That's, one of the reasons why we built, the recreation complex. But if it is, again, I was just asked to put this together for information for you guys.
Thank you. You're basing this on the 6-7 months that we're looking to remodel City Hall.
I have this November through February.
Okay.
Yeah.
My question being, do we help the Parks Department if we shift through the summer months where we drop to 1 meeting a month? We free up a little bit of time for him versus thing, but that would rechange all the construction timelines and all that, which you don't want to do. To go after. So we'll have to ask the mayor to look at some of the agendas and see if we can combine some things.
Well, the question came up too, if the library is not going to be affected by this, and apparently it isn't, a small meeting like this might go use their little meeting room?
That's a nice option.
Depends on, the question is, I don't know how big their meeting room is. I mean, we have a conference room, obviously, in our building too, which is about as big as that conference room over there. Although that's actually going to be used for office space, so I take that back. But again, if you have a smaller room, if it is a meeting that's open to the public, if you do have a touchy subject that public does show up to, then we run the risk of not having enough room for the public who can come in and use it.
Oh, but I can't remember any time this has been
Yeah.
that well attended.
You think about Ways and Means, Public Works, we usually don't get a very big crowd. I mean, that is true.
Yes.
I rehearse so much. All right, any other questions from the board? All right, thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Item number 11, citizen comments. Alas, no citizens have come since we've first had
Madam
that on
Chairman,
the.
motion to adjourn.
Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll
Thank
second.
you. All right, stand adjourned. That doesn't need a roll call, does it?
No, but you have to say it.
Yeah.
All right, well, the meeting is adjourned. Motion and second approved by acclamation.
Okay,
Oh,
Super.
very good. That's less than an hour.
That's the goal. Not at budget time, that'll take a little longer.
Evelyn, what I pulled the night coming in is going to be repetitious. I appreciate the kindness.
I got here at 4:30. It
Yes.
was hard for me for work. It seems